Greetings, fellow Octopathians. Octopath Traveler lore class is back in session. In my previous video on Orlick, I alluded at the very end that I would like to have a discussion about the Dragonstones, and that is what I plan on doing here today. And to do that, I am going to be covering the story of our next protagonist, Therion, the Thief. Before we begin with his story though, I do have to make a small admission. In most JRPGs, I do not like rogue characters or thief characters, or even their stories for that matter. Up to this point for me though, there have been two exceptions. Locke from Final Fantasy VI and Zidane from Final Fantasy IX. After playing through Therion's story in this game though, he has become the third exception. In fact, I believe Therion's story is one of the best examples I can think of how to do a thief story correctly. Therion's story not only shows you the day-to-day tribulations of a thief, but also shows you the dangers of being a convict for life and the uncountable betrayals that a thief must suffer. This is no tale of truth, or vengeance, or faith, or love, or even redemption. This is a story about survival. And with that, the stage is now set. Let us begin our discussion of the story of Therion, the Thief. Enjoy. Therion's story begins 10 years before the beginning of Octopath Traveler, in the city of Riverford, before Lord Verner ousted Harold's father as the Lord of Riverford. Therion is being escorted to the Gals of Riverford after an unsuccessful theft. At this point, Therion is but a young lad having barely reached adolescence, and has already gotten a big head start on his career as a thief. But it's already off to a rocky start. As the guard opens the door to Therion's cell, he announces their intention to beat the attitude out of him as they do with all of the other convicts. Therion then uses his penchant for witticism to provoke the guard into striking him. But in the midst of the guard's anger, Therion steals the keys to the cell. The guard still enraged, he throws Therion into his cell and closes the door behind him. After a moment in the cell, Therion meets his new cellmate, the fellow thief, Darius. Darius quickly scans over Therion and surmises that he is also a thief, but also informs his new cellmate that he has no intention of staying in the Gals so the guards can have their way with him. Darius approaches the cell door and presents a bobby pin saying that he will lockpick the door. However, Therion quickly shuts him down as he reveals the keys that he just stole off the guard, and he opens the door with ease. Exiting the cell, the two young thieves agree to become partners in crime, and thus they begin their jailbreak. As Therion and Darius make their escape, they loot a local business and make off with various spoils. The city guard give chase to the thieving duo, but they manage to give the guards the slip by hiding near the city aqueduct. Emboldened by their jailbreak and the numerous spoils that their combined efforts have taken, Therion and Darius reaffirm their new partnership, and they begin a years-long string of heists and robberies to which both of them prosper at the expense of everyone else. Some years later, Therion and Darius have become full-grown adults, and they have just completed a heist of the Lord's Manse of Riverford. In this escapade, Therion and Darius were in direct competition with a fellow thieving clan known as the Cianos. Not only did Therion and Darius get to the spoils of the Lord's Manse first, but they've also hidden the treasure away from the Cianos where they cannot find it. The duo return to town, and they begin gloating over their latest victory. However, Therion advises that they keep their guard up as the Cianos will try to seek them out for revenge. Darius blows off the warning and the two begin to approach the tavern where Therion notices something wrong. The duo promised before the heist that they would split the spoils 50-50, but Therion notices that Darius is trying to hide a sack of gold coins from him. Therion calls out Darius on not wanting to share the spoils, and Darius comes up with an excuse that he kept the gold coins because he was going to pay for a drink at the tavern later for the both of them. Therion cautiously accepts Darius' excuse, but it is also here that the seeds of distrust between the two begin to form. A short time later though, the Cianos do come for revenge, but not in the way Therion expected. The Cianos approach Darius, and they present him with a nigh unrefusable offer. Betray Therion and kill him, and they will grant him a position high in their ranks. Unable to resist the allure of a position that commands higher power in the world, Darius agrees to the offer. In the Cliftlands near Orwell, Darius enacts his betrayal. Darius wounds Therion so that he cannot strike back, and announces that the day he met Therion, that he had planned to use him all along, and that he was nothing more than a stepping stone to higher things for him. and then Darius completes his betrayal by kicking Therion into the ravine to his assumed death. Therion, however, survives this betrayal, but ends up badly injured at the bottom of the ravine, this experience now having scarred him for life. Betrayed by his partner in crime and best friend, Therion now becomes cynical, trusting no one, and resolving to become a lone wolf thief, completing nigh impossible heists on his own. A few years pass, and Therion has recovered from his injuries and has garnered himself a new reputation, the thief to which there is no establishment secure enough that he cannot steal from. Eventually, though, a rumor reaches Therion's ears of a manor in Bolderfall, with security so tight that the manor is deemed nigh impenetrable, and thus Therion decides to make that manor his next target. Little does he know, though, this heist will change his career forever.
My name is Cordelia Ravus, and I am the lady of the house.
When Chapter 1 begins, Therion, as is customary when he enters a new town before a heist, visits the local tavern to gather information. The barkeep informs Therion that the manor in question belongs to House Ravus. House Ravus is a noble family whose lineage can be traced all the way back to Hornburg, though some generations ago the family moved here to Bolderfall, bringing their mass riches with them. Supposedly the Ravuses are in possession of a treasure which is so valuable that it can supposedly buy up the entire town of Bolderfall and then some. Seeing intent in his eyes, the barkeep warns Therion to stay away from the manor, as many fortune hunters have already been thrown into the local gals. Taking the barkeep's warning as more of a dare, Therion resolves to continue with his heist of Ravus Manor, claiming that he will have a great story to tell once he's finished. Therion wastes no time and heads up the hills to Ravus Manor to inspect the security. The fences at the front gate are extremely tall, and there are all manner of soldiers and guard dogs guarding the premises. Therion will be unable to brute force his way into the property. As Therion continues to think of a way to get inside the manor, a merchant approaches. The merchant tells the guards at the front gate that he wishes to meet with Lady Ravus and show her the finest fabrics of the realm. However, the guards quickly shoo the merchant away, saying that he needs proof that Lady Ravus wishes to see him, as they only surround themselves with merchants that they trust. The merchant angrily walks away, with Therion giving pursuit to see if he can find more information on this so-called proof. Therion then overhears the rebuff merchant speaking with yet another merchant, where they talk about that they need a letter of introduction to do any kind of business with the Ravus family. Supposedly, there's a merchant in town who already has such a letter, as he's been doing business with the Ravus family for many years. Confirming what he needs, Therion now wastes no time heading down to Lower Bolderfall in search of this merchant. However, Therion is intercepted by two lowly thieves who wish to partner up with him on the heist. They attempt to parley with Therion by providing information about the security measures inside the manor itself. A comrade of theirs successfully snuck into the manor some time ago, but he was caught and thrown into the gallows after he set off an alarm inside the manor. The two thieves assert that Therion will need their help to avoid the traps, and they extend their hands in partnership. However, Therion quickly rebuffs their offer, and the two become enraged at him, calling him an ungrateful bastard. One of the two thieves then tries to attack Therion, who quickly counters his strike. Rushing to his partner's side, the other thief checks to see if he's okay, calling him mate. This statement causes Therion to freeze, as Darius used to call Therion mate all the time. After rummaging up memories of the past that he wanted best left forgotten, he angrily stares at the two thieves, and then they end up running away. After an unwanted trip through memory lane, Therion continues down to Lower Bolderfall and finds the merchant with the letter of introduction that he needs. Therion hastily pickpockets the letter of introduction from the merchant and makes his way back to the Ravus Manor gates. Therion approaches the guards, claiming to be a merchant of some repute and that he had been personally summoned by Lady Ravus. The guards initially rebuff his claim, though Therion presents the letter of introduction that he stole, and the guards immediately stand down and let him inside the gates. Now on the premises, Therion looks for a way inside the manor itself, and notices that a window has been left open at the front. Jumping through the window, Therion begins making his way through Ravus Manor. While sneaking through, Therion does not encounter any of the traps that the two thieves spoke of, but he does encounter plenty of guards and soldiers, as well as lesser spoils such as leaves and healing grapes. Eventually, Therion makes his way to the back of the manor, where he finds the treasure of House Ravus, a mysterious blue stone. Therion then inspects the blue stone, but comes to the conclusion that it is absolutely worthless and that he's wasted his time. However, As Therion finishes stating his conclusion, a voice suddenly appears behind him.
The jewel before you is worth more than your mind could hope to fathom.
Therion has been caught by the Ravus family butler, Heathcote, and Heathcote praises Therion on his ability to get this far. As a matter of fact, Heathcote tells Therion that they intentionally spread the rumors of the Ravus family treasure and enlisted the help of the barkeep to spread these rumors. And to also further entice would-be thieves, they tighten security around the manor to make the prize more interesting. Therion is then perplexed as to why the Ravuses would intentionally set up a situation to draw in a highly skilled thief. Heathcote then refuses to answer Therion's questions on what their exact angle is, and then Therion decides that he's going to leave. However, Heathcote blocks his escape and draws his weapon to prepare for battle. Therion knows that the only way to escape is through Heathcote, so the two engage in battle. During this duel, Heathcote shows that he is no ordinary butler and that he is highly skilled in the arts of combat. However, Therion very barely manages to eke out a victory against Heathcote. Despite being defeated, Heathcote still declares that he is victorious. Therion then begins to wonder if Heathcote's being delusional until he inspects his arm and notices a bangle. This is the mark of a convict, the Fool's Bangle, the symbol of a thief's ultimate blunder. Once a Fool's Bangle has been placed on a thief, their reputation has been ruined should it be shown publicly. Heathcote somehow managed to slip on this bangle during his duel with Therion, and now he knows that they have the perfect leverage for negotiations against Therion. And it is at this point that a woman enters the room and introduces herself as Cordelia, Lady of House Ravus. Cordelia then explains the entire purpose of this whole feint. The blue gemstone on the pedestal is known as a Dragonstone and is one of a set of 4. House Ravus has protected the Dragonstones for many generations, but misfortune struck after Cordelia's parents passed. During the chaos that led to her succession, a thief snuck into the manor and stole all 4 Dragonstones, and Heathcote was only able to recover the Sapphire Stone. The remaining stones, the Ruby, Emerald, and Gold Dragonstones, still remain in parts unknown. And this is where Therion comes in. In exchange for retrieving the 3 missing Dragonstones, Cordelia and Heathcote will remove the Fool's Bangle. With his reputation at stake, Therion is left with no choice but to accept their offer. On the way out of Bolderfall, Therion is stopped by Cordelia and Heathcote. Cordelia wishes good luck to Therion on his mission, while Heathcote provides Therion with a small bit of information, a rumor. Supposedly, a scholar in Noblecourt has possession of the Ruby Dragonstone, and he advises Therion to begin his search there. Despite his normally cold and cynical nature, Therion does assure Cordelia that he will complete his mission successfully, and that she will have her Dragonstones back. And then Therion sets out. On the road to Noblecourt, Therion meets with the other 7 protagonists, who pledge their skills and abilities to his cause. And after many days of travel on the road, the party arrives in the Flatlands, to the city of Noblecourt.
That's far enough, thief.
Upon entering Noblecourt, Therion immediately begins putting his ear to the ground looking for information. He stops in the town square where he overhears 2 men talking about a scholar named Orlick, who has taken up residence in a manor in the northwest side of town. They also discuss all the armed guards surrounding the manor and Orlick's research into a shiny red stone. After hearing this, Therion confirms that that must be the Ruby Dragonstone that he seeks, and so he proceeds to Orlick's Manse in the northwest side of town. Upon arrival, Therion immediately notices that the Manse is heavily guarded, and that getting in will not be easy, and that he'll need to find another way. Therion then decides to hit up the local alehouse to see if he can scrounge up some more information. After ordering the tallest cup of the finest ale of the tavern, Therion meets with 2 men who are also speaking about Orlick. With the liquor loosening their tongues, the 2 men reveal that Orlick once had a research partner, a man named Barham, and after a fallout, Barham has now taken up residence in a small house in the western half of the city. Therion thanks the men for the information and proceeds to Barham's residence. Therion meets with Barham and immediately alludes to his intention of stealing the Ruby Dragonstone from Orlick, and that he needs Barham's help to do it. Barham agrees to help Therion get into Orlick's Manse, on the condition that he help him prepare for his grand experiment. Therion agrees to the arrangement, and Barham tells him of the 3 items that he needs for his experiment: water purified in the sands of the desert, a wyvern scale, and an ore that is crystal clear and of the highest metallic purity. During this fetch quest, Therion and Alphen stop to have a quick conversation with each other. Alphen shows intrigued at the life of a thief and asks Therion if he's stashed away a bunch of treasures all over the place. And Therion does admit that over the past few years as a lone wolf he has saved up enough treasure for retirement, though he must conclude his business with the Dragonstones first to be able to do so. Alphen then suggests they hit up the local alehouse after they're done in Noblecourt, and Therion agrees, saying, "One mug, your treat." And it is here is the beginning of a fond relationship, a bromance if you will, between Alphen and Therion, where they become drinking buddies. After this brief episode of camaraderie, Therion steals all of these items from local merchants, and Barham begins his experiment. During the experiment, Barham explains that he and Orlick used to be like brothers and they did all of their research together. But it all changed when one day they found the Ruby Dragonstone. The Ruby Dragonstone did something to twist Orlick's mind, and he shut Barham out, barricading himself into a laboratory where he performs research on it, day in and day out. Barham alludes that the Ruby Dragonstone is not meant for the hands of man, and it has some kind of magical properties that twist the minds of men. When the experiment concludes, Barham tells Therion that the password to tell the guards to get into the manse is the truth of all things, and then presents him with a key. As it turns out, the experiment was not an experiment at all, but Barham synthesizing a key to get into Orlick's secret laboratory. Barham then sends Therion on his way, imploring him to restore Orlick to his senses. Therion then quickly makes use of the new password that he's just been told and enters Orlick's manse. As Therion makes his way through Orlick's manse, he finds that much like Ravus Manor, it is heavily guarded, with both soldiers and guard dogs. However, despite all the heavy security, Therion and party make their way to Orlick's secret laboratory, and inside is the Ruby Dragonstone that Therion seeks. However, just as Therion is about to claim the prize, Orlick enters the room, and he demonstrates just how far his mind has gone. The Ruby Dragonstone has twisted Orlick's mind into an almost golem-like state. And if you don't believe me, listen for yourself.
Mark my words, boy. This stone is mine. You will never have it.
And that is twice now that I've been able to compare the works of Tolkien to Octopath Traveler. Anyway, Orlick refuses to have the Dragonstone be stolen by Therion, so he pulls out a dagger and orders his guards to kill him. However, this battle does not last very long, as Orlick is kind of a pushover. With Orlick defeated, Therion is ecstatic that he gets to return to Ravus Manor with one of the Dragonstones in tow.
I'm sure Heathcote's got new orders for me. Hooray.
I know, such enthusiasm. Back in Bolderfall, Therion returns the Ruby Dragonstone to Cordelia. With this part of his mission completed, Cordelia begins to feel that she can trust Therion and believes that he will recover the remaining Dragonstones based on the honor system. She instructs Heathcote to remove the Fool's Bangle from Therion's wrist, though Heathcote advises against it, saying he should keep it on until the task is complete. Surprisingly, Therion corroborates Heathcote's claims and say they should leave the bangle on him to make sure that he completes the job. Heathcote is surprised by Therion's reaction, but shrugs it off and immediately proceeds to inform Therion that he has heard rumors that the Emerald Dragonstone is in the black market of Wellspring, in the Sunlands. Upon hearing this, Therion seriously begins to question Heathcote's profession as a butler, as only those who are in the thieving business know of the black market and the contacts within. But nevertheless, Therion sets out for Wellspring to seek out the Emerald Dragonstone, with Cordelia feeling sorry for Therion as he leaves with a lonesome face.
Of all the people, it had to be you, didn't it?
Upon arriving in Wellspring, Therion immediately sets eyes on a mysterious stranger on the south end of town. Therion uses some stolen wine to loosen the man's tongue about the black market, and he tells Therion to visit the tavern and order something that's not on the menu. Therion does as the man instructs and orders the barkeep to bring him wine, cut with ale and mead. The bartender immediately recognizes this as code for the black market and slips a note under Therion's mug. The note says that the black market is just south of Wellspring, and Therion wastes no time setting out for it. When Therion arrives at the black market, he finds that it's inside of a cave and that it is being guarded by many attendants. After inspecting a aristocrat who's trying to enter the black market, he notices that all the attendants and the customers all wear different masks. So Therion surmises that he will need to acquire a mask in order to enter. It is here that the player is presented a choice as to whether to disguise themselves as an attendant, an aristocrat, or steal the barkeep's mask from Wellspring. Regardless of the choice, the outcome is the same. Therion gains access to the black market. Once inside, Therion pretends to be a customer and examines all the different treasures in the black market, until eventually the auctioneer presents the Emerald Dragonstone and gets Therion's attention. Immediately, Therion begins to approach the auctioneer in order to try to steal his prize, but some bandits show up from behind the auctioneer and kill him, stealing the Emerald Dragonstone. Therion immediately gives chase to the bandits as they try to sneak out of the back end of the cave, but just as Therion catches up, he is shocked to find a familiar face from his past.
Is that you? Darius? Wait, I know you. Well, if it isn't Therion.
After many years apart, the former partners in crime are reunited, though this is a reunion that is nowhere even close to wanted. Darius is astonished that Therion is still alive, but does not greet him rudely out of respect for their former partnership. However, it does not take long for Darius to spot out the fool's bangle on Therion's wrist, and note that Therion has gotten sloppy. Darius then surmises that Therion is after the Dragonstones to have the fool's bangle removed. Therion refuses to respond to anything that Darius has to say, and Darius eventually tires of reminiscing with him, and tells his bandits to kill him. Therion's party easily overwhelms the bandits, and Therion realizes he must pursue Darius in order to get the Emerald Dragonstone back. While in pursuit, both Ophelia and Orlick stop Therion and ask him what's troubling him, as they are unfamiliar with his past. Therion rebukes the both of them, and asserts that it's none of their business. Ophelia and Orlick, however, assert that Therion need not do this alone, and that they are around for support if he needs them. Therion continues his pursuit and once again has another conversation with Darius, where Darius inquires if his betrayal still haunts Therion's mind. Darius then notices the look on Therion's face more closely, where he's cold and guarded, defeated even. Darius then calls out Therion for the broken man he is, and decides that he has spent enough time here messing with him, and orders Gareth, his lieutenant, to kill him. Gareth gets in the way to cover for Darius' escape, and Therion's party has no choice but to put down Gareth. After the battle, Therion loses track of Darius, and he is forced to return to Bolderfall where he must report his failure. Therion tells Cordelia and Heathcote that the Emerald Dragonstone has been stolen by yet a different thief, though he refuses to divulge that it's Darius specifically. Therion assures Cordelia that he will get the Emerald Dragonstone back, but then she retorts if the thief in question is the reason why his face looks sad from time to time. Upon hearing this, Therion snaps at Cordelia, saying that she knows nothing of betrayal and she has no idea how he feels. Cordelia then retorts that she knows about betrayal all too well. After her parents' passing and during her succession, Cordelia felt alone. Over time, various family members and other people from the different corners of Orsteria came to comfort her. However, all of their appearances came with a darker intention. These people only came to comfort Cordelia, thinking that they would receive a free handout of money from her. And for a time, Cordelia became cynical, much as how Therion is cynical now. But her cynicism was broken by one man, the one man who never betrayed her, the one man she could trust, Heathcote. And it is at this moment that Therion has finally found the one person in the realm who understands how he feels. And then a brief silence ensues, which is broken by Heathcote, as he receives news of where the Emerald Dragonstone has been taken. Darius has taken the Emerald Dragonstone to his hideout in Northreach, in the far northern reaches of the Frostlands. And as it turns out, Northreach is under Darius' control as he is now their lord, and he has somehow come into possession of the Gold Dragonstone as well. Wishing to assess the danger of Therion's next objective, Heathcote agrees to go to Northreach ahead of him to scout out the town. As Heathcote leaves, Cordelia imparts some sage wisdom to Therion. She says that believing in people is what makes us strong, and that she has faith in him that he will succeed. Therion walks away from Cordelia, not knowing what to say, as he begins his journey to to Northreach.
I still don't get why Darius is after the Dragonstones, though.
'Cause he'll grant me an even greater power than I have now.
After many days of travel into the frigid wastes of the north, Therion and his party arrive in Northreach. Upon entering the city gates, Therion notices that the city is overrun with bandits and that law and order is non-existent. However, Therion continues his customary tradition of when he enters a new town he goes to visit the tavern. However, the bartender refuses to serve him any alcohol as Therion is wanted, and Darius, as the Lord of Northreach, has decreed that anyone who assists Therion in any way will be seen as direct opposition and dealt with harshly. Therion leaves the tavern and continues to search the town for more information. However, he is stopped by a gang of Darius's thieves. Things are looking grim for Therion as there's way too many of them for him to handle. However, Heathcote arrives on the scene to give Therion an escape route, and they end up taking shelter within an abandoned house. While waiting for the thieves to settle down, Heathcote then begins to share his story with Therion as to how he became the butler of House Ravus. As it turns out, he used to be a thief much like Therion, where there was nothing he couldn't steal. And much like Therion, he was also caught by the Ravuses. Lord Ravus then gave Heathcote a proposition. He would not turn him over to the city guards on the condition that he would return one day to become the butler of House Ravus and serve his daughter, Cordelia. Not wishing to spend the rest of his life as a convict, he agreed to the terms. And when Cordelia succeeded to her position as the lady of the house, he returned as the butler and has served her faithfully. It is at this point that Heathcote admits that his age is catching up with him and he's not as young as he used to be. He tells Therion that if he were to accompany the party to go after Darius, that he would just be a hindrance, so he agrees to stay behind and wish for Therion's success. With newfound respect for Heathcote, Therion agrees and heads outside to find that the thieves have settled down and that he can sneak around town again. As Darius's thieves are scrambling to find Therion and Heathcote, Therion manages to sneak into the north end of town and spots one of the thieves entering the Lorn Cathedral, where Darius has made his hideout in the cellars. Knowing that Darius will have installed a lookout force, Therion realizes that he will need a disguise to get past the guards. Therion steals the garb of one of the normal thieves in an attempt to sneak by that way. However, his attempt ends up failing and he's shooed away by the lookouts. Therion then returns to town and finds one of Darius's master thieves and steals his garb instead. With the garb of a high-ranking thief in the organization, Therion is able to get past the lookout force with relative ease, and he decides to have just a little bit of fun with them, warning them about the master thief he just stole his clothes from. And right on cue, the master thief, now in his birthday suit, arrives in the cellars to try to tell the lookout force that he'd been robbed. However, because of Therion's little prank, the lookout force ends up running the master thief out. After having his quick bit of fun, Therion stops to have a conversation with Cyrus, who notes that Darius's organization is, well, rather disorganized. Therion notes that you can't expect too much considering they're just a bunch of thieves, but Cyrus notes that Therion should still be careful as Darius is a man who trusts no one but himself. Therion thanks Cyrus for his wisdom and continues to proceed through the cellars of the Lorn Cathedral. In the back of the cellar, Therion finds the 2 missing Dragonstones and questions out loud as to why Darius is even seeking the Dragonstones in the first place. However, Darius surprises Therion by emerging from the back of the room, announcing that the Dragonstones, when combined, will grant him a power unlike anything seen on this earth. Darius walks forward to look into Therion's eyes just as he did in Wellspring, but he notices something is very different. Therion's eyes are no longer cold, guarded, and cynical, but full of passion and life because of trust in someone. Darius says that he hates it when Therion's eyes look like that, and chastises him for putting his trust in someone else. And then Therion replies, assassinating Darius's character.
Right, Lord Darius. But after you've betrayed so many people, it must get pretty damn lonely at the top.
You're such a sentimental fool!
Maybe I am a fool. But trust is a sentiment I want to believe in. And it's one worth fighting for!
Therion's party and Darius now enter battle with each other, with Darius believing that he can take on the whole party by himself as he needs no one. During the battle, Darius attempts to tear down Therion's ideals, but Therion is unmoving and unrelenting, and after a somewhat lengthy battle, Darius finally falls. Having been bested by his former partner, Darius is ashamed and flees, leaving the 2 Dragonstones behind. Darius makes for his treasure trove in the cellars and says that he doesn't need the Dragonstones to be powerful. He's got money, and he can buy whatever he wants and start anew. Darius then calls for his thieves to come and start moving the gold to a secure location, where he is then gutted by one of them. The thieves tell Darius that all they ever cared about was his money, and that they planned to betray him all along, and that Gareth was really the only one among them that really gave a damn about him. As the thieves start taking away Darius's gold piece by piece, the cold grip of death slowly takes over Darius, and in one last desperate attempt to save his own life, he tries to call for Therion to help, and is met with no response, and then death overtakes him. Returning to Bolderfall, Therion returns the emerald and gold Dragonstones to Cordelia, and all 4 Dragonstones are now assembled. It is at this point that Cordelia orders Heathcote to remove the Fool's Bangle from Therion's wrist, to which Heathcote responds that that won't be necessary. Both Therion and Cordelia are perplexed by this statement, but then Heathcote tells Therion to inspect the bangle closely. Therion looks at the bangle and notices that it's already unlocked, and is questioned how long it has been that way. Heathcote tells Therion that he unlocked the bangle when he brought back the ruby Dragonstone, but did it without his knowledge when Cordelia suggested it. Therion is embarrassed that he has been blindsided by Heathcote yet again, but he quickly shrugs it off and removes the Fool's Bangle. With his mission of servitude completed, Therion has one final question for Cordelia. What is the purpose of the Dragonstones? Heathcote agrees to answer in her stead, and reveals that the Dragonstones are the keys to the Gate of Finis. While Heathcote believes the Gate of Finis is a fairy tale, we as players know that is not the case, as the Gate of Finis lies in Hornburg and is just waiting to be opened by somebody at some point, and Galdera is waiting on the other side. And with that answer in his mind, Therion begins to set out from Bolderfall, but he is stopped once again by Cordelia and Heathcote. Therion is frustrated that Cordelia will just not let him go, but all Cordelia says she wanted to do was simply to wish him off, and ask where his next destination will be. Therion admits that he doesn't know what his next stop will be, as it is the Wanderer's life for him. But nevertheless, Cordelia wishes him all the best, and sends him on his way, and it is there that Therion's story comes to an end. And with the information that we've learned here today, we can surmise that Darius sought the Dragonstones so that he may open the Gate of Finis and meet with Galdera, who he planned to form a dark pact with to gain immense power. However, what I believe Darius didn't realize is that opening the Gate of Finis would not have granted him immense power, or that Galdera would even want to form a pact with him. On the contrary, opening the gate would have let Galdera out and ensured the doom of all of Orstera. But then again, I'm pretty sure Darius would have had no problem just letting the world burn. But who can say for sure? Now, so far we've had 4 protagonist stories that have linked in to Galdera, the Gate of Finis, and the Afterworld in some fashion. I think it's time we give these things a little bit of a break, and on the next lore episode, I'm going to cover a protagonist story that's more about revenge, and with that little hint, I will leave things here. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay abreast of new uploads. Comment in the comment section down below if you're feeling especially vocal about this episode. If you liked the video, make sure you share it with your friends and give it a thumbs up, and if you disliked it, show it to your enemies. And with that, Octopath Traveler lore class is now adjourned. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you next time.